Doctor Who Fought to Doomsday, the second story of the Fifth Doctor, is written by Terence Dudley and starring Peter Davison, Matthew Waterhouse, Sarah Sutton and Janet Fielding. So the story was going to be called Days of Wrath, but got changed to Fought to Doomsday because Castrovalva is the first Peter Davidson's regular story. Originally the Doctor was going to have two companions, which are Tegan and Adric, after Castrovalva, but Peter Davidson wanted to keep Nessa in because she's more suited to his vision of the Doctor, which I'm glad that they kept her, is because I do love Nessa. Thank you, Peter Davidson. The effect of spaceship flying in space is nicely done for low budget series and its time. So the TARDIS team arrived in a spaceship accidentally as the Doctor tries to get Tegan back to Heathrow Airport for her job. So the Doctor puts a helmet on and takes a look around as the oxygen isn't great. Blimey, Adric insulted Tegan and Nessa. So after the Doctor came back, him and Tegan went to see Urbinkins, Monarch, Persuasion and Enlightenment.
You are? I'm the Doctor.
A doctor? Of what?
Of everything.
How modest.
And they question the Doctor and Tegan about the Earth. Tegan draws the fashion of her time, and we get cameras flying everywhere, so Nessa wandered off and met Bigan. Adric met up with the Doctor and Tegan talking about math problems and struggling to find Nessa. After Tegan gave Urbicans her drawing, they left and found Nessa in the refreshment room, and Bigan came in with a tray full of fruits. While Monarch tries to open the TARDIS door, there were humanoids, Kukuchi. Tegan can speak to him as she's an Australian. Villagra, who can't speak until she sees her people. Lin Futu. Apparently they discussing about going to heaven, so later on there's a man and a woman looked exactly like the ones Tegan drew, and they revealed to be Enlightenment and Persuasion. Mind-blowing. So everyone has a conversation and eating, and Adric and Nessa looks around and sees people not breathing and seem to be mind-controlled when it comes to doing what they're doing. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Tegan were watching the show and acting like as though they're enjoying themselves. The fight scenes and performances are great. One of the Greek swordsmen impaled another, which traumatized Tegan, but it turns out that they're not flesh and blood. People got themselves repaired in the machine, so Monarch orders them to capture Nessa and Adric. Bigan reveals to be android. The effects of his chest open like it's made of paper and lifting his head is like that is nicely done. Again, Peter Davidson is great as the Fifth Doctor. He's a joy to watch. Matthew Waterhouse, Sarah Sutton and Janet Fielding as Adric, Nessa and Tegan Javanka are great as well. That's actually my true opinion. I like all Doctors and I like all companions. Paul Shelley and Annie Lambert played Minister of Persuasion and Minister of Enlightenment. The Urbinkins. Stratford Johns played Monarch, the leader of the Urbinkins. They're great as the villains, love to see more, and they plan to wipe out humanity from Earth. Let's look at the humans converted into androids. Philip Locke played Bigan, a Greek philosopher. Ilario B.C. Pedro played Kukuchi, an Australian Aborigine, and Tegan can communicate with him as Australian from the city of Brisbane, was able to speak with him in his language. Nadia Hammond played Villagra, a Mayan princess who couldn't talk until she reunites with her people, as I've already mentioned. Bert Kwok played Lin Futu, a Chinese Mandarin in the events of the Futu dynasty, which doesn't happen in real life. The casts did an incredible job. The sets and effects are so good for its time and low budget. The music by Roger Lim is great as well. After Bigan covered himself back up, the Doctor realizes that Urbinkins are evil. When Tegan learns the truth, she understandably was scared and wanted to warn the Earth. So she and the Doctor had a bit of an argument. Then he and Bigan left. Adric tells Monarch about the Doctor and his TARDIS. Obviously Nessa wasn't happy about it, so Monarch sends Adric to find the Doctor so he can have a look inside the TARDIS. And Nessa stays behind to get hypnotized. Adric finds Tegan. Adric thinks Monarch is a good guy. Tegan plans to get away, so she knocks Adric down on the ground after a mini fight and left. She quickly goes in the TARDIS and kept trying anything clever in order to get away from the ship. The Doctor and Bigan has found Nessa in the machine, but she's alright thankfully. They try to figure out something to stop Monarch. As Adric woke up and Tegan managed to dematerialize the TARDIS, He came to tell the Doctor what happened. Lin Futu told Monarch what happened, so he sends Persuasion and Lin Futu to decircuit Baigan and beheaded the Doctor by those hoplites. Quite a brutal cliffhanger. Luckily Nessa uses sonic screwdriver and pencil on the disc of their hands and stopped. So Monarch orders Persuasion to bring in the Doctor and Adric, so they had a bit of a chat. So eventually the Doctor and Adric goes back to the shows. They got Lin Futu to help them get Baigan back. So the Doctor puts a helmet, and him floating in space with Cable heading towards the TARDIS effects is done pretty well. So after Decircuit Persuasion and Enlightenment, the Doctor managed to boost himself by throwing his cricket ball on the spaceship and throwing itself back to him like a boomerang. He's reached to the TARDIS, and I loved his line when he says, "You're spoiling my concentration." So after landing the TARDIS back to the ship, the TARDIS team put their helmets on. The Doctor's helmet gets repaired. So in the end, as they headed back to the TARDIS, the Doctor threw a poison at Monarch, which shrunk him and put a helmet over him because apparently he's partly flesh. So after going back inside the TARDIS and dematerialized, Nessa passed out. So yeah, that's 4 to Doomsday, and it has got some great ideas in there with the story. What did you think of this story? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks as always for watching, and see you in the next video.